Pacific sun blazed over Naval Amphibious Base Coronado as Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stood at attention, her newly pinned SEAL trident gleaming against her dress whites. 26 months of hell had led to this moment. The frozen torture of surf zone training, the oxygen-deprived panic of pool competency, the muscle-shredding agony of log PT, and finally, THE Chinese letter-breaking crucible of Hell Week. She'd conquered every test the instructors threw at her, matching and often exceeding the performance of her male counterparts. But as she looked across the graduation ceremony at the stone-faced operators from SEAL Team 7, Sarah saw nothing but skepticism in their eyes. The Navy had celebrated her achievement with press releases and photo opportunities. The SEAL community had responded with silence. "Congratulations, Lieutenant," Senior Chief Jake Donovan's voice cut through her thoughts. At 42, Donovan was a legend. 3 deployments to Afghanistan, 2 to Iraq, and more confirmed kills than most snipers dreamed of. His weathered face bore the map of 2 decades at war, and his reputation as Alpha Squad's platoon chief was ironclad. "You've got orders to my team." It wasn't a welcome, it was a warning. "Thank you, Senior Chief. I'm ready to." "Ready?" Donovan's laugh was harsh. "But makes you qualified, Martinez. Combat makes you ready. And frankly, I've got doubts about whether you'll ever see combat with my boys." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "This isn't politics or headlines out there. It's life and death. My men have families. They need teammates they can trust, not diversity checkboxes." Sarah's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. "With respect, Senior Chief, I didn't ask for special treatment. I just want to do the job." "We'll see." Donovan turned to leave, then paused. "Welcome to Alpha Squad, Martinez. Try not to get anyone killed proving a point." The next morning, Sarah reported to the Team 7 compound. The building was a fortress of testosterone, walls lined with photos of fallen brothers, plaques commemorating operations she could only imagine, and the unmistakable smell of gun oil and sweat. In the team room, 8 operators sat around a scarred wooden table, their conversation dying as she entered. "Gentlemen, this is Lieutenant Martinez," Donovan announced without enthusiasm. "She'll be joining Alpha Squad." Petty Officer Marcus "Doc" Williams, the team medic, offered a cautious nod. The others remained motionless, their faces unreadable. Petty Officer First Class Tyler Reaper Jennings, a massive operator with arms like tree trunks, finally spoke. "So it's true, they're really doing this." He looked Sarah up and down. "No offense, ma'am, but have you ever kicked in a door with 50 pounds of gear, carried a wounded operator under fire? Because that's what we do." "I've done everything required in training," Sarah replied evenly. "Training?" Jennings snorted. "Did they make it easier for you, lower the standards?" "The times speak for themselves, Petty Officer. Check the records." Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres entered before Jennings could respond. Torres was Naval Intelligence, attached to JSOC operations, and one of the few women who'd fought her way to respect in the Special Operations community. "Good, you're all here. We've got deployment orders." She activated the overhead screen, displaying satellite imagery of arid mountains and scattered compounds. "Northern Syria, Operation Resolute Shield. We're hunting high-value targets disrupting coalition operations. Alpha Squad deploys in 72 hours. Sarah studied the terrain, nodding elevations, sight lines, and potential overwatch positions. Years of studying topography as a competitive shooter had trained her eye for such details. "Primary target is Khalid Hassan, Khalid the surgeon," Torres continued. "Former Iraqi Special Forces, trained by us ironically, now commanding insurgent operations. He's responsible for 17 coalition deaths in the past 3 months, including a Marine patrol wiped out by a coordinated ambush last week. Very smart, very dangerous." Roe Donovan asked. "Capture preferred, eliminate if necessary. He's got intelligence on the entire network." After the briefing, Sarah found herself alone in the armory, inspecting the team's sniper rifles. She ran her hand along a Mk-13 Mod 7, the precision instrument that would be her voice in combat. Growing up in Tucson, she'd started shooting at age 7 with her father, a retired Marine sniper. While other girls played with dolls, Sarah punched paper at 600 meters. By 16, she was winning national competitions. By 20, she'd set collegiate records. But this wasn't competition, this was war. Know your way around that. Doc Williams appeared beside her, genuine curiosity in his voice. Yes, petty officer. Just Doc is fine, he paused. Look, ma'am, I'm not going to blow smoke. Most of the guys are skeptical, but Donovan's fair even if he's hard. Prove yourself and he'll come around. And if I can't? Doc's expression darkened. Then people might die, and that'll be on all of us. That night Sarah sat alone in her quarters, doubt creeping in despite her determination. She thought about her father's words before she'd left for Bud S. They'll doubt you every step. Don't fight them with words. Fight them with excellence. She cleaned her personal rifle, a custom .308 she'd built herself, running the cloth through the barrel with practiced precision. Each movement was meditation, each action building confidence. She'd spent her entire life preparing for this. The mockery, the skepticism, the isolation, none of it mattered. Only the mission mattered. Only excellence mattered. As she reassembled the weapon in darkness, muscle memory guiding her hands, Sarah Martinez made a silent promise. She would prove herself not with speeches or politics, but with precision. One shot at a time. The doubters would see soon enough. The C-17 Globemaster's engines roared as Alpha Squad sat in silence, flying through the night towards Syria. Sarah sat apart from the others, checking and rechecking her gear. Across from her, Reaper and 2 other operators, Chaos, Rodriguez, and Priest, O'Malley, played cards, deliberately excluding her from their ritual. 12 hours later, Forward Operating Base Phoenix materialized from the desert heat, a collection of reinforced structures surrounded by HESCO barriers and guard towers. The base hummed with activity, Apache helicopters warming up, Marines running perimeter drills, and intelligence analysts hunched over glowing screens. Alpha Squad, welcome to paradise. Their liaison officer, Captain Mike Sherman, greeted them with dark humor. Hope you're ready to work. Hassan's network has been busy. 3 IED attacks this week, 2 successful ambushes, and our patrols are getting hammered. In the operations center, Tor spread intelligence reports across the table. Hassan's smart. He never stays in one place, uses multiple communication methods, and his men are disciplined. But we've got a lead, a compound here. She pointed to satellite imagery. Suspected weapons cache. We hit it tomorrow night. Donovan began assigning positions. Reaper, you're breaching. Chaos, explosives. Priest, you're on my 6. Doc, you're... He paused at Sarah. Martinez, you'll provide security at the FOB. Sarah's stomach dropped. Senior Chief, I'm qualified for. I know your qualifications, Lieutenant. Right now, I need proven operators on this hit. You'll get your chance. It was a deliberate marginalization, and everyone knew it, but Sarah simply nodded. Understood, Senior Chief. That night she watched from the operations center as Alpha Squad rolled out in MRAPs, disappearing into the darkness. Hours crawled by. Then, at 3:47 hours, the radio crackled. Phoenix Actual Alpha 1, target secure. Cache confirmed, RTB in 30 mics. The mission was textbook perfect. When the team returned, there was subtle celebration, the quiet satisfaction of professionals doing their job. Sarah congratulated them genuinely, hiding her frustration. The pattern continued for 2 weeks. Alpha Squad conducted 6 operations. Sarah pulled security duty on all 6. She was the most qualified sniper on the team. Her scores proved it, but Donovan kept her on the bench. The message was clear: prove yourself in combat, not on paper. Then Doc Williams offered an unexpected lifeline. There's a surveillance op tomorrow, he mentioned during a meal. Watching a valley where Hassan's couriers might move. Low risk, 12-hour overwatch. Donovan's thinking of sending you. Why the change? Doc shrugged. Maybe he figures even you can't screw up watching an empty valley. Or maybe he's tired of command asking why his sniper never leaves the wire. The next morning, Donovan briefed her personally. There's a ridgeline overlooking Route Silver, a supply corridor Hassan's network uses. Intelligence suggests a courier meeting might happen. Your job is simple: observe and report. Do not engage without authorization. Understand? Crystal clear, Senior Chief. Ramos will drive you to the drop point. You'll hump 3 clicks to the position, set up and maintain observation. Extract at 1800 hours. Think you can handle that? Sarah met his skeptical gaze. Yes, Senior Chief. At dawn, she inserted alone, carrying 60 pounds of gear across broken terrain. The ridgeline position offered commanding views of the valley below, a dusty track winding through rocky outcrops. She established her hide site with meticulous care, camouflaging her position and settling behind her rifle. Hours passed in stillness. This was what most people didn't understand about sniping. It wasn't the shooting. It was the patience. The ability to remain motionless while the sun baked you, while insects crawled across your skin, while your muscles screamed for movement. Sarah had learned this discipline young, hunting elk with her father in the Arizona mountains. At 14:30 hours, movement caught her eye. Through her scope, she identified a pickup truck with a mounted machine gun approaching from the north, then another from the south. Between them, a sedan. Phoenix Actual, Eagle 1. I've got 3 vehicles converging on Checkpoint Bravo. Eagle 1 Phoenix. Observe and report how many personnel. Sarah counted carefully. 12 military-age males armed with AKs, 2 vehicle crew-served weapons. They're setting security. This looks like a meeting. Through her scope, she watched 2 men emerge from the sedan, greeting each other with embraces. One pulled out a tablet, showing the other something on the screen. Maps, target plans. Phoenix Eagle 1. Recommend ISR drone overhead. This could be significant. Negative Eagle 1. Drones are committed elsewhere. Continue observation. Sarah photographed everything through her scope's camera attachment, nodding details. The men's faces, their weapons, the vehicle's conditions. Then she saw something others might miss. One man's shoes. Expensive Italian leather, incongruous in this dusty wasteland. And his watch, a Rolex. Phoenix, one subject showing wealth indicators inconsistent with local insurgents. Possible HVT. 30 minutes later, the meeting concluded. The vehicles departed in different directions. Sarah documented it all, but frustration gnawed at her. If she'd had authorization to engage, she could have eliminated potential threats. Instead, she'd been a camera. But as she reviewed her photos during extraction, Sarah noticed something crucial. In one image, reflected in the sedan's window, was a compound she recognized from intelligence briefings. She'd inadvertently captured a location marker. Back at the FOB, Torres practically tackled her. Martinez, this photo, do you know what you found? A reflection. That's Hassan's compound. We've been searching for it for months. You just gave us his location. In the operations center, analysts swarmed over Sarah's intelligence. The reflection, combined with the terrain in her photos, triangulated Hassan's base within a 5-kilometer radius. It was the breakthrough they'd needed. Donovan approached, his expression unreadable. Good work, Martinez. That was solid observation. It wasn't praise, but it wasn't dismissal either. It was acknowledgement. Thank you, Senior Chief. Don't let it go to your head. You watched a valley and took pictures. Let's see how you handle real pressure. He paused. We're planning a hit on Hassan's compound. Might need overwatch. You interested? Sarah kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. Absolutely, Senior Chief. As Alpha Squad began planning their most dangerous mission yet, Sarah finally felt the door opening. She'd proven she could be patient and professional. Now came the real test. Combat. The briefing room buzzed with tension as Torres displayed the updated intelligence. Thanks to Lieutenant Martinez's observation, we've narrowed Hassan's location to this compound. The screen showed a fortified structure nestled in a mountain valley, surrounded by high walls and guard positions. Looks like a hard target, Priest muttered. It is, Donovan confirmed. But Hassan's gotten comfortable. Our window is now before he moves again. The plan was aggressive. Alpha Squad would insert via helicopter 5 kilometers out, approach on foot under darkness, and assault at dawn. Sarah would establish overwatch on a ridge 800 meters from the compound, providing reconnaissance and covering fire. Martinez, your position is critical, Donovan said, surprising everyone by addressing her directly. You'll be our eyes. You see threats we don't, you call them. You get a clear shot on Hassan or his lieutenants, you take it. No hesitation. Understood, Senior Chief. Reaper spoke up, his usual hostility tempered. That's a long shot in combat conditions, ma'am. You confident? Sarah met his eyes. I've made that shot 1,000 times, just never when it mattered this much. Something shifted in the room. Not quite acceptance, but a recognition that she understood the stakes. They launched at 2200 hours, Black Hawks pounding through the night sky. Sarah sat with her rifle between her knees, running through mental calculations. Wind patterns in mountain valleys, temperature effects on ballistics, the Coriolis effect at extended range. Every variable mattered. The helicopters dropped them in a dried riverbed, rotors kicking up blinding dust before disappearing into the night. Alpha Squad moved in tactical column, Sarah positioned mid-formation. The terrain was brutal, loose scree that threatened to twist ankles, gullies that forced detours, and the constant threat of enemy patrols. After 3 hours of movement, they reached the objective area. Donovan hand-signaled the split, assault team toward the compound, Sarah toward her overwatch position. Doc squeezed her shoulder as they separated. Good hunting, Ghost. The call sign was new, earned from her ability to remain invisible during observation. It felt like baptism. Sarah climbed alone, using night vision to navigate the treacherous slope. At the crest, she found her position, a rocky outcrop offering clear sight lines to the compound below. She set up meticulously, rifle on bipod, range finder ready, spotting scope positioned, ammunition sorted by distance. Python 6, Eagle 1 in position, she whispered into her radio. Eagle 1, Python 6 copies, stand by. Through her scope, Sarah studied the compound. 2 guards on the main gate, one roaming the courtyard, another on the roof. Lights glowed in the main building. She noted every detail, fields of fire, dead spaces, potential escape routes. The assault team crept forward, shadows among shadows. Sarah tracked their movement, ready to provide support. Everything felt surreal, months of training condensing into this moment. Then chaos erupted. The explosion wasn't from Alpha Squad's breaching charge. It came from behind the assault team, a massive detonation that lit the valley like day. Donovan's voice cracked over the radio. IED. It's a trap, fall back. But there was nowhere to fall back to. Machine gun fire erupted from positions Alpha Squad hadn't identified, carefully camouflaged bunkers on both flanks. The compound lights extinguished, and the rooftop guard opened fire with a PKM machine gun. Sarah watched in horror as her teammates dove for cover, pinned in a kill zone with no escape. Tracers cut through the darkness like deadly fireflies. She heard screams. Someone was hit. Python elements taking fire from multiple positions. Donovan's voice was controlled but urgent. We need immediate fire support. Python 6 negative on air support. Weather's closing in. You're on your own. Donovan cursed. Eagle One, do you have eyes on those positions? Sarah's training battled her shock. She forced herself to breathe, to focus. Through her scope, she identified the threats. Machine gun bunker northeast, 760 meters. Mortar team setting up northwest, 820 meters. Rooftop gunner, 850 meters. Python 6, Eagle One has 3 priority targets. Engaging. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. When it matters most, trust your training. The rifle doesn't know you're scared. Sarah settled her crosshairs on the rooftop gunner. Range, 847 meters. Wind, 8 mph from the east. Temperature dropped since insertion meant her round would fly slightly high. She adjusted, exhaled slowly, and squeezed. The rifle bucked. Through her scope, she saw the gunner collapse. No time to think. She transitioned to the mortar team, 2 men dropping rounds into the tube. If those rounds launched, Alpha Squad was finished. Range, 823 meters. Crosswind stronger at that angle. She adjusted for the slope, leading slightly for the target's movement. Squeeze, the first mortar man dropped. His partner looked around confused. Squeeze. He fell beside the mortar. Good hits, Eagle One. Doc's voice strained. Keep it up. The machine gun bunker was hardest. Small opening, well protected. Sarah could see the muzzle flash, but little else. She waited, patient despite the chaos, until the gunner shifted position for a better angle. For just a second, his head appeared in the opening. Range, 758 meters. Downward angle compensate for bullet drop. She held just above his silhouette. Squeeze. The machine gun went silent. Python 6, 3 threats neutralized, Sarah reported, already scanning for more. Outstanding work, Eagle One. We're moving to secondary positions. But the enemy wasn't finished. Reinforcements poured from the compound, at least 20 fighters spreading into the valley. They were trying to flank Alpha Squad's position. Sarah became a machine, working her rifle with cold precision. A fighter raising an RPG down. 2 men setting up a technicals machine gun, both down. An enemy commander pointing and directing troops down. Each shot was a calculation, a problem to solve. Distance, wind, movement, exposure time. She stopped thinking of them as people, just as threats to her teammates. The rifle became an extension of her will. Jesus Christ, Reaper's voice came over the radio. Who is that shooting? That's Ghost, Doc replied, pride evident. That's our girl. Sarah's world narrowed to her scope circle. Identify, range, adjust, fire, confirm, next target. Her shoulder ached from recoil, her trigger finger going numb, but she didn't stop. Then she saw him, emerging from the compound's main building, moving with authority. Even at distance, she recognized the expensive watch, the tailored clothes. Khalid Hassan. Python 6, Eagle One has eyes on Jackpot. Jackpot was Hassan's designation. Eagle One, are you certain? Sarah zoomed her scope. Same face from the intelligence photos, same bearing. Confirmed. Jackpot is moving toward a vehicle on the compound's east side. He's running. Take the shot if you have it. Range 1,094 meters. Hassan was moving fast, bodyguards surrounding him. It was the longest shot she'd ever attempted in combat. Wind had picked up, swirling in the valley. One chance. Sarah's heart hammered, but her hands remained steady. She led Hassan's movement, accounting for every variable. The shot had to be perfect. She exhaled halfway, held it and squeezed. The second between firing and impact felt eternal. Then, through her scope, she saw Hassan stumble and fall. His bodyguards scattered, dragging him toward the vehicle. Hit confirmed on Jackpot, Sarah reported. Target is down but being evacuated. The compound erupted in chaos, enemy fighters abandoning positions to secure their leader. It gave Alpha Squad the opening they needed. All Python elements withdraw to Rally Point Beta, Donovan ordered. Sarah provided covering fire as her team bounded back, dropping anyone who pursued. Her ammunition was running low, 12 rounds left. A technical raced from the compound, machine gun blazing. The gunner swept toward Alpha Squad's withdrawal route. Sarah tracked the vehicle, moving target, 920 meters, bouncing over rough terrain. Impossible shot, but if she didn't take it, that machine gun would cut her teammates apart. She led the vehicle, held for the bounces, and fired. The round struck the gunner's center mass. The technical swerved, crashing into a boulder. Eagle 1 Python 6, time to move, we're at rally point Beta. Sarah broke down her position in seconds, slinging her rifle and scrambling down the slope. Behind her, the compound burned, fires from the fighting spreading to ammunition stores. Explosions lit the dawn sky. She reached the rally point, breathing hard, and found the entire team staring at her. "How many?" Donovan asked quietly. "How many what, Senior Chief? How many did you drop?" Sarah thought back through the engagement. It was already blurring together. 23 confirmed, maybe more. The team stood in stunned silence. Finally, Reaper spoke. "Holy shit." The extraction helicopters thundered in, and Alpha Squad loaded up, carrying 2 wounded but no dead. As the valley receded below, Donovan sat next to Sarah. "That was some of the finest shooting I've ever seen," he said. "You saved us." Sarah was too exhausted to feel proud. "Just did my job, Senior Chief." "No," Donovan's voice was firm. "You did it better than I've seen anyone do it. I was wrong about you, Martinez." As the helicopter carried them to safety, Sarah leaned back and closed her eyes. She'd proven herself in the only language that mattered in the teams. Excellence under fire. Forward operating base Phoenix's medical tent smelled of antiseptic and blood. Sarah sat outside while Doc Williams treated the wounded inside. Priest had taken shrapnel in his leg, and Chaos had a concussion from the IED blast. Both would recover, but it had been close. Too close. Senior Chief Donovan emerged from the tent, exhaustion etched into his face. He'd taken a bullet graze across his ribs during the withdrawal, though he'd refused treatment until his men were stable. Now, his uniform was stained with blood, some his, most belonging to others. "They'll be all right," he told Sarah. "Priest is already bitching about the food, so I know he's fine." Sarah managed a tired smile. The adrenaline had long since faded, leaving her hollow and shaking. She'd killed 23 human beings in less than an hour. The number sat in her stomach like a stone. "First time?" Donovan asked, reading her expression. "Is it that obvious?" "You did good out there, Martinez, better than good, but the first time you take a life, it stays with you." He sat beside her on the sandbags. "Want some advice from an old killer?" "Yes, Senior Chief." "Don't try to forget them. Don't pretend they weren't human, but remember why you did it. Every one of those shots kept your brothers alive. That's what matters." He stood, wincing at the pain in his ribs. "Get some rest. Debrief is at 1400 hours." The debrief filled the operations center with brass Sarah hadn't known were on the base. A full colonel, 2 lieutenant commanders and tours, who looked like she hadn't slept in days. They reviewed Sarah's helmet camera footage, her shot log, and the intelligence gathered from the operation. "Lieutenant Martinez," Colonel Hendricks began, "your performance was extraordinary. According to preliminary reports, you single-handedly eliminated 23 enemy combatants and wounded the primary target, enabling your team's successful extraction under heavy fire." "Thank you, sir, the team." "The team would be dead without you," Hendricks interrupted. "Senior Chief Donovan has recommended you for the Navy Cross. I'm endorsing that recommendation." Sarah blinked. The Navy Cross was the second highest military decoration for valor, just below the Medal of Honor. "Sir, I was just doing my job." "A job," Torres interjected, "that saved 11 American lives and dealt a significant blow to Hassan's network. You should be proud, Lieutenant." But there was a catch. There was always a catch. Hendrik's expression darkened. However, we have a problem. Hassan survived. The satellite imagery showed the aftermath. Hassan's vehicle had reached a secondary compound before Alpha Squad could pursue. Intelligence indicated he'd been evacuated by helicopter, badly wounded but alive. He's going to be even more dangerous now, Torres explained. Wounded pride, desire for revenge. Our sources say he's already planning retaliation against American targets. So we go after him again, Reaper said from the back of the room. It's not that simple, Hendricks replied. Hassan's gone to ground. Our intelligence networks are searching, but he could be anywhere within a 100-kilometer radius. Until we locate him, we wait. The waiting was worse than combat. Alpha Squad fell into the monotonous routine of base life, training, maintenance, briefings that led nowhere. But something had shifted within the team. The operators who doubted Sarah now sought her input on tactics. Reaper asked her to review his shooting technique. Priest wanted to learn her breathing exercises for long-range work. Most surprisingly, Donovan assigned her to train the team on advanced observation techniques. You've got an eye for detail the rest of us miss, he explained. That reflection you spotted, that's not luck, that's skill. I want everyone thinking like a sniper. During a training session, Doc pulled Sarah aside. You know what they're calling you back in the States? The ghost of Syria. Some journalist got hold of the story, not your name, but what happened. Female SEAL sniper drops 24 enemy fighters. It's going viral. Sarah's stomach nodded. I didn't do it for publicity. Nobody thinks you did. But like it or not, you're becoming a symbol. Every girl who thought she couldn't serve in combat is looking at you differently now. That night, Sarah called home for the first time since deployment. Her father answered on the second ring. Dad, it's me. Sarah, thank God. Are you all right? I'm fine. I needed to hear your voice. There was a pause. Her father had been a Marine sniper in Desert Storm, and he understood what she wasn't saying. You've seen combat. Yes. And you performed well. They say I did. Another pause. Listen to me, sweetheart. Every shot you took to protect someone. That's the burden we carry, but it's an honorable burden. Don't let anyone tell you different. How did you handle it? Afterward, I mean. I reminded myself that evil exists. We don't create it, we respond to it. Those men you shot, they chose violence. You chose protection. There's a difference. After the call, Sarah felt marginally better. She was writing in her journal when chaos burst into the female quarters, a converted storage container that served as her private space. Martinez, we got him, they found Hassan. The operations center was chaos. Intelligence had intercepted communications indicating Hassan was recovering in a mountain compound near the Turkish border. He was planning something big. The chatter suggested a major attack on coalition forces within the week. This is our chance, Hendricks addressed the assembled operators. Hassan is wounded, vulnerable, and in a known location, but he knows we're coming. The compound is heavily fortified with at least 40 fighters. This won't be a raid, it'll be a battle. Donovan stepped forward. Alpha Squad is ready, sir. I know you are, Senior Chief, but this mission requires more than one squad. We're sending Delta Force as the primary assault element. Alpha Squad will provide overwatch and cut off escape routes. Sarah's role was clear. Establish a hide site overlooking the compound and provide reconnaissance and precision fire. But this time, the stakes were higher. Hassan would have counter-sniper measures, security patrols, and the advantage of defensive positions. This is a kill mission, Hendricks stated flatly. Hassan is too dangerous to capture. Shoot on sight, no warnings, no hesitation. Understood. The room responded in unison, yes, sir. As the briefing concluded, Torres pulled Sarah aside. There's something you should know. Hassan has been asking about you. About me. Our sources say he's obsessed with the American female sniper who wounded him. He considers it a personal humiliation. He's put a bounty on your head, $50,000 to whoever kills you. Sarah processed this information. She'd become a specific target, not just an enemy combatant. Does Donovan know? I'm telling him next, but I wanted you to hear it first. Are you sure you want to do this? No one would question if you sat this one out. Hassan wants me. Good, that means he'll be distracted making mistakes. Sarah met Tor's eyes. I'm going, Commander. This bastard has killed too many of our people. It ends now. The mission launched 48 hours later. 2 Black Hawks carried Alpha Squad through the night, flying nap of the Earth to avoid detection. Delta Force followed in Chinooks with a larger assault element. The operation was massive, nearly 50 American operators converging on a single target. Sarah inserted alone, hiking 3 kilometers through mountain terrain to reach her overwatch position. The compound sat in a valley below, illuminated by generator-powered lights. Through her scope, she counted sentries, 8 roaming the perimeter, 4 on rooftops, more inside. Python 6, Eagle 1 in position. Count 12 external sentries, heavy weapons on north and south walls. Compound appears on high alert. Eagle 1, Python 6 copies. They're expecting us. Stay sharp. Hours passed. Sarah remained motionless, tracking patterns, nodding shift changes, identifying the command structure. One man stood out, constantly checking positions, directing sentries, talking on a satellite phone. Hassan's second-in-command, most likely. At 400 hours, Delta Force began their approach. Sarah watched through her scope as the operators crept forward, shadows against shadows. The plan was to breach simultaneously from 3 directions, overwhelming the defense before they could organize. But 50 meters from the compound, everything went wrong. Floodlights blazed to life, illuminating the entire valley. Machine gun fire erupted from hidden positions. RPGs streaked through the darkness. Delta Force had walked into a kill zone. All elements abort, abort. The Delta commander's voice was desperate. We're compromised. Hassan had known they were coming. He'd prepared an ambush, turning the compound into a fortress. And now, American operators were dying in the kill zone below. Sarah watched in horror as the battle unfolded, a massacre in the making. Delta Force was pinned, taking casualties, unable to advance or retreat. Alpha Squad was too far away to provide immediate support. Through her scope she saw him, Khalid Hassan, stepping onto a balcony, watching the slaughter with satisfaction despite his bandaged torso. He was smiling. The range was extreme 647 meters, the longest shot Sarah had ever attempted. Wind gusted unpredictably in the mountain valley. The angle was severe, shooting downward into the compound. Every variable screamed impossible. But American operators were dying. Every second Hassan lived, more would die. Sarah's mind became perfectly calm. She calculated wind drift, bullet drop, the Coriolis effect, even the air density at this altitude. Her father's voice. The impossible shot is just the one nobody's made yet. She adjusted her scope, held her breath, and placed her crosshairs on Khalid Hassan's chest. One shot, one chance. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle's recoil was familiar comfort, but the 2.3 seconds between firing and impact felt infinite. Sarah tracked the round's arc through her scope, watching Hassan's figure on the distant balcony, every muscle in her body rigid with focus. Then he jerked backward violently, disappearing from view. Target down, Sarah transmitted, already working the bolt, chambering another round. Hassan is hit. The effect was instantaneous. Enemy fighters who'd been systematically destroying the American assault force suddenly broke discipline. Commanders abandoned positions, running toward the main building. The organized defense collapsed into chaos. All elements push now, the Delta commander seized the moment. They're in disarray. Delta Force surged forward through the breach in enemy fire, reaching the compound walls and beginning the brutal close-quarters battle. Alpha Squad moved from their cut-off positions to support, engaging fighters attempting to flee. Sarah continued working her rifle, dropping any enemy who appeared in her sight picture. A fighter on the roof raising an RPG down. 2 men setting up a machine gun in a window, both down. She'd become death from above, an invisible hand removing pieces from the battlefield. Eagle 1 Python 6, we're breaching the main building, keep our backs clear. Python 6, Eagle 1 copies, you're covered. Through her scope, Sarah watched Donovan lead Alpha Squad through a side entrance, flashbangs detonating inside. Gunfire strobed through windows, then silence. Python 6 main building secure. We've got Hassan, he's alive but critical. Sarah felt a surge of relief mixed with disappointment. Alive meant intelligence, but also a trial, a chance he might escape justice through legal maneuvering. Still, it was over. Or so she thought. All elements, be advised, technical with mounted gun approaching from the north. Sarah swung her rifle toward the reported direction. A Toyota truck raced down the mountain road, a DSHK heavy machine gun mounted in the bed. That weapon could shred the American forces. The technical bounced over rough terrain, making accurate fire nearly impossible. Sarah tracked it, waiting for the right moment. The truck hit a straight section of road and she fired. The driver slumped. The truck veered wildly, flipping as it left the road and tumbling down the mountainside in a shower of debris and flames. Technical neutralized, Sarah reported calmly. Eagle 1, you're a goddamn artist. Reaper's voice carried genuine admiration. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. With Hassan down and their leadership dead or scattered, the remaining fighters surrendered or fled into the mountains. Delta Force secured the compound, finding a treasure trove of intelligence. Computers, phones, maps showing future attack plans. Sarah broke down her position as dawn painted the mountains gold. She'd fired 43 rounds, scored 37 confirmed hits, and made the longest combat kill shot in Navy SEAL history. But all she felt was exhaustion. The extraction helicopter arrived, and Sarah linked up with Alpha Squad outside the compound. Donovan approached, his gear blood-splattered but his eyes bright. Ghost, that shot on Hassan, how far was that? 1647 meters, Senior Chief. He whistled. 1600 meters, Jesus. The previous record was what, 1400? 1421. Marine Sniper in Afghanistan, 2012. Donovan laughed, shaking his head. You just made history, Martinez. How's it feel? Like I want to sleep for a week, Senior Chief. Inside the compound's main building, Sarah saw Hassan for the first time up close. He lay on a stretcher, his expensive suit soaked with blood, trauma medics working frantically. Her bullet had struck him 2 inches left of center mass. The wind drift had pushed it slightly off target, but it had been enough. Hassan's eyes found hers, and something like recognition flickered there. He spoke in accented English, his voice weak but venomous. The American woman, they said you were just a girl, a publicity stunt. He coughed, blood on his lips. I should have known better, you shoot like the devil. Sarah felt nothing looking at him. No satisfaction, no anger. Just a professional assessment of a mission completed. You killed a lot of good people, she said quietly. It's over now. Is it? Hassan's laugh was a wet, rattling sound. There are 100 more like me. 1,000, you cannot kill us all. Maybe not, Sarah replied, but we can kill you. Doc Williams pulled her away. Come on, Ghost, he's not worth your time. The flight back to FOB Phoenix was subdued despite the victory. 2 Delta operators had been killed in the initial ambush, and 5 more were wounded. The cost of war, measured in flag-draped coffins and families receiving chaplain visits. Colonel Hendricks met them on the landing pad, waiting as the team unloaded. Senior Chief, Lieutenant Martinez, a word. In his office, Hendricks poured 3 glasses of bourbon. Military regulations be damned. To fallen brothers, he toasted. They drank in silence. That was some of the finest shooting I've witnessed in 30 years of service, Hendricks told Sarah. The Navy Cross recommendation is approved. Additionally, you're being written up for a Bronze Star with Valor for the first engagement. The Secretary of the Navy wants to recognize your achievements personally. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Sir, I'd prefer to avoid the publicity if possible. I understand, but that's not your decision anymore. You've become symbolic, whether you want it or not. The first female Navy SEAL to see combat, setting records and saving lives. The story is already out. With respect, sir, I'm just trying to do my job. Hendricks' expression softened. I know, but your job now includes being an example. Like it or not, thousands of young women are watching you, seeing what's possible. That matters, Lieutenant, almost as much as the lives you saved. After dismissing Sarah, Hendricks turned to Donovan. Senior Chief, I owe you an apology. I had doubts about women in the teams. Martinez has proven me wrong in the most definitive way possible. Donovan nodded. She's earned her place, sir. The team sees it now. She's not the female SEAL anymore, she's just Ghost, one of us. That night, Alpha Squad threw an unofficial celebration in their team room. Nothing elaborate, just pizza, beer, and the kind of crude humor that bonded warriors. For the first time, Sarah was fully included, no longer sitting on the periphery. Reaper raised his beer. To Ghost, the baddest shooter in the teams, you saved our asses, ma'am, and I won't forget it. To Ghost, the team echoed. Priest limped over, his leg still bandaged. Remember when I said you couldn't handle kicking indoors with 50 pounds of gear? I was an idiot. You carried all of us that day. Sarah felt emotion threatening to overwhelm her carefully maintained composure. Thank you for giving me a chance to prove myself. Prove yourself, Chaos laughed. Martinez, you didn't prove yourself, you set a new standard. The rest of us are trying to keep up with you now. Doc Williams, always the quiet observer, spoke up. In Bud S, they taught us that being a SEAL isn't about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about being the most determined, the most disciplined, the one who refuses to quit. Ghost embodies that better than anyone I've served with. Even Donovan, usually reserved, raised his beer. When Martinez first joined the team, I didn't think she belonged. I was wrong. She's proven that excellence has no gender. It's about heart, skill, and dedication. She's got all 3 in abundance. Ghost, you're Alpha Squad through and through. Sarah blinked back tears, overwhelmed by acceptance she'd fought so hard to earn. It means everything to hear you say that, Senior Chief. The celebration continued into the night, stories flowing freely, tales of training mishaps, past deployments, and the kind of dark humor that helped warriors process trauma. Sarah contributed her own stories. The time she'd accidentally shot her brother's favorite teddy bear while practicing in their backyard, her father's face when she'd outshot him at age 13, the moment in Bud S when she'd realized she might actually make it. As the team finally dispersed to sleep, Donovan pulled Sarah aside. I need to tell you something, he said, his voice serious. That first day when I said I had doubts about you, I was testing you, pushing you to see if you'd break or fight back. You did neither. You just put your head down and worked twice as hard as anyone else. That's when I knew you might make it. You were testing me the whole time. Not the whole time. At some point it became real doubt, but you erased it completely. Martinez, you're not just a good SEAL, you're an exceptional one. I'm proud to serve with you. Coming from Donovan, it meant everything. In her quarters, Sarah finally allowed herself to decompress. She cleaned her rifle one last time, the familiar ritual soothing. Each part was examined, cleaned, and reassembled with reverence. This weapon had been her voice when words failed, her protector when death threatened, her tool for saving lives. She thought about Hassan's words, "There are 100 more like me." He was right. The war wouldn't end with his capture, but tonight Americans would sleep safer. Families wouldn't lose loved ones to his attacks. That had to be enough. Sarah opened her journal and wrote, "Day 47 of deployment. Made the longest shot of my life today, 647 meters. Hassan is in custody and the team made it out alive. Senior Chief Donovan told me I'm Alpha Squad now, not just a SEAL assigned to Alpha Squad. I think I finally believe him." Dad was right. Excellence is the only argument that matters. I didn't win them over with words or politics. I won them over by being undeniably good at the job, by making the impossible shot when it mattered most. Tomorrow we train again, plan again, prepare for the next mission. But tonight I'm just grateful to be here, to have earned my place among these incredible warriors. Mom, if you're watching from wherever warriors go when they fall, I hope I made you proud. I hope every woman who doubted herself sees that we belong anywhere we're willing to fight to be. The mission continues. She closed the journal and lay back on her cot, exhaustion finally claiming her. Outside, the desert night was quiet except for the distant hum of generators and the occasional radio check. Sarah "Ghost" Martinez, Navy SEAL sniper, was finally home. The C-17 transport carrying Alpha Squad back to Naval Base Coronado touched down on a gray California morning. Sarah pressed her face against the small window, watching the familiar coastline materialize through the fog. 2 months in Syria had changed her in ways she was still processing. Physically, she was harder, leaner. Mentally, she carried the weight of 37 confirmed kills. Emotionally, she was exhausted. The homecoming was surreal. A small crowd waited on the tarmac, brass, families, and a disturbing number of media cameras. Sarah's stomach sank. She'd hoped to slip back quietly, but clearly the Navy had other plans. "Welcome to fame, Ghost," Donovan muttered as they descended the ramp. "Smile and wave. This is the part of the job nobody warns you about." Families rushed forward, reuniting with their warriors in tearful embraces. Sarah stood alone. Her father was still in Arizona, planning to visit later in the week, and watched the joyful chaos. Then she saw him, a Navy captain approaching with purpose, and beside him, a woman in a business suit who screamed "Public Affairs Officer." "Lieutenant Martinez, I'm Captain Berkshire, and this is Commander Chen from Navy Public Affairs. We need to discuss your upcoming schedule." Sarah saluted. "Sir, I was hopping for some leave time." "And you'll get it," Berkshire assured her. "But first, there are obligations. The Secretary of the Navy wants to present your Navy Cross personally. There's a press conference scheduled, and several media outlets have requested exclusive interviews." "Sir, with respect, I'd prefer to avoid the media circus." Commander Chen stepped forward, her smile professional but firm. "Lieutenant, I understand your reluctance, but your story is important. Female recruitment for special operations has increased 40% since news of your deployment broke. You're inspiring a generation." "I didn't do it to inspire anyone. I did it because it's my job." "Which is exactly why your story resonates," Chen countered. "You're not seeking attention. You're simply being excellent at what you do. That authenticity is powerful." The Navy Cross ceremony took place at the base theater, packed with dignitaries, active duty personnel, and press. Sarah stood at attention in her dress whites as the Secretary of the Navy read the citation. "For extraordinary heroism in combat operations against enemy forces, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez distinguished herself through exceptional courage, tactical brilliance, and devastating precision, while serving as sniper team leader for SEAL Team 7, Alpha Squad. During a complex special operations mission, Lieutenant Martinez engaged and eliminated 23 enemy combatants under extreme combat conditions, directly saving the lives of 11 American service members." The words washed over her, feeling disconnected from the reality of that night, the fear, the chaos, the weight of each trigger pull. When the medal was pinned to her chest, photographers' flashes created a strobe effect. She maintained her military bearing, but inside she wanted to disappear. The press conference afterward was worse. Reporters shouted questions. Lieutenant Martinez, how does it feel to be the first female Navy SEAL to see combat? What do you say to critics who claim women don't belong in special operations? Did you face discrimination from your male teammates? How many of the enemy fighters you killed did you see clearly? That last question from a young male reporter made Sarah's jaw tighten. Commander Chen intervened smoothly, but Sarah waved her off. I saw every single one of them, Sarah answered, her voice cold. I identified each target, confirmed they posed a threat to American lives, and engaged accordingly. What I didn't see was their gender, their age, their hopes or fears, because in combat you can't afford to. You make split-second decisions based on training and necessity. Second-guessing yourself gets people killed. The room fell silent. Sarah continued, as for discrimination, I faced skepticism, earned skepticism because I was unproven. My teammates didn't owe me their trust. I had to earn it through performance. That's how special operations works. Excellence is the only credential that matters. Later, watching the press conference footage, Donovan nodded approvingly. You handled that well. Didn't play victim, didn't get defensive, just stated facts. That's how you control the narrative. But the media attention was relentless. Sarah's face appeared on magazine covers, news programs, and social media. Hashtags like Ghost Seal and Women Warriors trended. She received thousands of messages, most supportive, some hostile, all overwhelming. One message stood out, from a teenage girl in Iowa. Lieutenant Martinez, I'm 16 and everyone tells me girls can't be soldiers. My guidance counselor said I should focus on realistic careers. But I saw your interview and I realized they're wrong. I'm joining the Navy when I graduate. Thank you for showing me what's possible. Sarah stared at the message for a long time, emotions warring inside her. She hadn't sought this responsibility, but it existed whether she wanted it or not. Her father arrived 3 days later, driving from Arizona in his old pickup truck. Master Sergeant Rhett. James Martinez was 62. Weathered by decades of desert sun and combat deployments, but his eyes still held the sharpness of a sniper. They met at a quiet Mexican restaurant off base, away from cameras and crowds. Her father ordered in Spanish, then turned to her with a scrutinizing gaze. You look tired, Mija. I am tired, Dad. Combat tired or soul tired? Sarah considered the question. Both, maybe. I thought getting through Bud S was the hard part. Then I thought proving myself to the team was the hard part. Now this, she gestured vaguely at the world beyond the restaurant, feels harder than either. James sipped his beer. When I came back from Desert Storm, nobody cared. We won, we came home, life moved on. But you're carrying something bigger. You're not just a warrior, you're a symbol. That's a different kind of burden. I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to do my job. I know, but symbols don't get to choose themselves, circumstances choose them. The question is, what kind of symbol will you be? Before Sarah could answer, her phone buzzed. A text from Donovan, emergency briefing 800 tomorrow. Hassan escaped custody during transport. All hands recall. The restaurant's warm atmosphere evaporated. Sarah showed her father the message. So it's not over, he said quietly. It's never over. The briefing room at JSOC headquarters was packed with grim-faced operators from multiple teams. Commander Torres stood at the front, dark circles under her eyes. At 3:42 hours this morning, Khalid Hassan escaped from a medical transport convoy in Germany. 4 guards dead, 3 wounded. He had inside help. We're investigating how deep the compromise goes. Satellite photos appeared on screen, showing a burned-out armored vehicle on a German highway. Hassan was being transferred to a high-security medical facility when his convoy was ambushed by a well-coordinated team. They extracted him and disappeared. Current location unknown. "How is that possible?" someone demanded. "He was barely alive when we captured him." He received extensive medical treatment and apparently recovered faster than anticipated. Intelligence suggests he's returning to the Middle East, likely to re-establish his network and... Torres paused to settle scores. Her eyes found Sarah. "Lieutenant Martinez, there's a specific threat we need to discuss. Hassan has made it clear through intercepted communications that you're his primary target. He considers your shot, and the publicity around it, a personal humiliation. He's put a standing bounty of $500,000 on your head." The room erupted in angry mutters. Donovan stood. "What's the security plan for Ghost?" "That's being determined, but Lieutenant Martinez needs to understand the threat is credible and immediate. Hassan has resources and reach. He's already proven he can strike inside secure facilities." After the briefing, Sarah found herself surrounded by Alpha Squad. "You're not going anywhere alone," Reaper stated flatly. "Hassan wants a piece of you. He goes through all of us." "I appreciate that, but—" "No buts," Doc interrupted. "Your family now, we protect family." Donovan pulled her aside. "The Navy is considering pulling you from active operations, putting you in a training role until the threat is neutralized." "Absolutely not," Sarah said immediately. "That's exactly what Hassan wants, to sideline me through fear. I won't give him that satisfaction." "I thought you'd say that. I already told them you'd refuse." Donovan almost smiled. "But you need to be smart, Ghost. No unnecessary exposure, no solo operations, and you follow security protocols." "Understood, Senior Chief." That evening, Sarah returned to her apartment for the first time in months. It felt foreign, like someone else's life. She walked through rooms that no longer reflected who she'd become, filled with belongings from before Bud S., before combat, before killing became routine. She was pouring a glass of water when she noticed it, a slight displacement of books on her shelf, barely perceptible. Her combat instinct screamed warning. She set down the glass carefully and moved to her bedroom, hand instinctively reaching for the pistol she kept hidden. The room was clear, but something was off. Then she saw it, a photograph on her nightstand, turned face down. She hadn't left it that way. Sarah drew her weapon and cleared the entire apartment systematically before approaching the photo. When she turned it over, her blood ran cold. It was the photo of her father, taken at her Bud S. graduation. But someone had drawn a red X across his face in marker. The message was clear. Hassan knew where she lived. He knew what mattered to her, and he could reach her anytime. Sarah immediately called Donovan, then her father. Within 30 minutes, her apartment was crawling with NCIS agents processing the scene. Her father was put under protective detail. Sarah was moved to secure on-base housing. "He's escalating," Torres explained. "Breaking into your home wasn't about killing you, it was about intimidation. He wants you afraid." "Then he's wasting his time," Sarah replied, though her hands trembled slightly. "Fear doesn't change the mission." But that night, alone in her new quarters, Sarah allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. She thought about that teenage girl in Iowa, inspired to join the military. What if Hassan targeted her family? What if her existence as a symbol put innocent people at risk? Her phone rang, a video call from an unknown number. Against protocol, driven by instinct, she answered. Khalid Hassan's face filled the screen, gaunt but alive, his eyes burning with hatred. "Lieutenant Martinez, the Ghost." His voice was weak but venomous. "Did you like my message?" "Hassan, how are your wounds healing? I was hopping to finish the job." He laughed, a rattling sound. "You humiliated me before the world, a woman making the impossible shot. Do you know what that did to my reputation, my authority? I know you killed a lot of people. I know you're a coward who hides behind bodyguards and uses civilians as shields. And I know I should have aimed higher. Such fire, I admire it even as I plan to extinguish it. Hassan leaned closer to the camera. I'm coming for you, Ghost. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And when I kill you, the world will see that American women are weak, that your propaganda is lies. You will die badly, and it will be recorded for all to see. I'll be waiting. Come find me if you're brave enough. Oh, I will. But first, I think I'll visit your father in Arizona, or perhaps that girl who wrote you the letter in Iowa. Yes, I know about her too. So many ways to hurt you before I kill you. The call ended. Sarah sat frozen, rage and fear warring inside her. Hassan had made it personal in a way that transcended military operations. This was about terror, revenge, and destruction of everything she represented. She immediately forwarded the recording to NCIS and JSOC. Within hours, her father was relocated to a secure facility. The girl in Iowa received FBI protection. Hassan's threat had transformed Sarah from a warrior into a target, and everyone around her into potential victims. Donovan found her in the team room at 200, unable to sleep, field stripping her rifle for the 10th time. You can't carry this alone, Ghost. He threatened my father, a 16-year-old girl who wrote me a letter. How do I fight that? The same way you fight everything, with excellence, discipline, and your team backing you. Donovan sat across from her. Hassan wants you isolated, afraid, making mistakes. Don't give him that. Trust your training, trust us. What if someone gets hurt because of me? Then we adapt and overcome, but we don't surrender and we don't let terrorists dictate our actions. He paused. Besides, Hassan made a tactical error. He revealed himself to threaten you. Now we know he's watching, we know his obsession. That's an exploitable weakness. Sarah looked up. You want to use me as bait? I want to use his obsession against him. He'll come for you eventually. Let's be ready when he does. Let's make it a trap instead of an ambush. As Sarah considered this, she realized Donovan was right. Running and hiding wasn't her nature. She was a SEAL, trained to take the fight to the enemy. What do you have in mind, Senior Chief? Donovan smiled grimly. Let me talk to TORS and JSOC, but if Hassan wants to hunt the ghost, let's show him what happens when ghosts haunt back. Sarah returned to her rifle assembly, but this time with purpose rather than anxiety. Hassan had made it personal. Now it was time to remind him why making an enemy of a Navy SEAL was the last mistake anyone made. The hunt was about to reverse. The JSOC planning cell looked more like a Silicon Valley startup than a military facility. Massive screens displaying real-time intelligence feeds, analysts hunched over workstations, and an energy that crackled with purpose. Sarah stood before a map of the Middle East dotted with red markers indicating Hassan's suspected locations. We've analyzed every communication, every financial transaction, every movement of Hassan's known associates, TORS explained, using a laser pointer to highlight key areas. He's rebuilding his network, but he's also doing something unusual, staying in contact with certain elements more than operational security would dictate. He's not just rebuilding, Sarah realized. He's planning something specific. Exactly, and our psychological profile suggests his obsession with you is affecting his judgment. He's taking risks he normally wouldn't. TORS pulled up intercepted messages, carefully redacted. He's asking about your movements, your schedule, where you'll be and when. Colonel Hendricks entered the room, followed by a man Sarah didn't recognize. Slight build, civilian clothes, eyes that assessed everything. Lieutenant Martinez, this is Agent David Park, CIA Special Activities Division. He's been tracking Hassan's financial networks. Hendricks gestured to the screens. Agent Park, brief her. Park spoke with clinical precision. Hassan's operation requires funding. weapons, safe houses, bribes. We've identified several of his financial facilitators, people moving money through legitimate businesses to fund terrorism. One in particular, Omar Rashid, operates a shipping company in Istanbul. He's Hassan's primary banker. A photograph appeared on screen. A well-dressed man in his 50s, standing outside an upscale restaurant. If we wanted to draw Hassan out, Park continued, disrupting his finances would force his hand. Without money, his rebuilt network collapses. You want to hit Rashid, Sarah stated. We want Hassan to think we're hitting Rashid. Actually, we want Hassan to think you're hitting Rashid. The plan crystallized in Sarah's mind. You leak that I'm part of an operation targeting his financials. Hassan, already obsessed, sees an opportunity to eliminate me while protecting his money. He comes out of hiding to personally oversee my assassination. That's the idea, Hendricks confirmed. It's risky and you'd be exposed, but… I'll do it, Sarah interrupted. When do we start? The operation, codenamed Phantom Trap, began with carefully orchestrated leaks. Intelligence sources let slip that Lieutenant Sarah Martinez would be in Istanbul as part of a joint task force investigating terrorist financing. Her hotel, her schedule, even her security detail, all deliberately revealed through channels they knew Hassan monitored. This goes against every security protocol, Doc muttered as Alpha Squad prepared to deploy. We're basically painting a target on your back. The target's already there, Sarah replied, checking her gear. At least this way we control the environment. The team deployed to Istanbul under civilian cover. Sarah checked into the specified hotel, a modern high-rise with too many entry points and sightlines, deliberately chosen to give Hassan options. Her room was on the 12th floor, northeast corner, windows overlooking the Bosphorus. Alpha Squad established overwatch positions in surrounding buildings. Reaper and Chaos took a rooftop across the street. Doc and Priest positioned themselves in the hotel's security office. Donovan coordinated from a mobile command center 3 blocks away, monitoring every camera, every access point. Ghost Python 6, you're green across the board, all positions established. Sarah surveyed her room, noting fields of fire, cover positions, and escape routes. She'd changed into civilian clothes, jeans, a leather jacket, and wore a concealed pistol. Her sniper rifle was broken down in a guitar case, should she need it. Python 6 Ghost copies, I'm set. The first day passed without incident. Sarah made a public appearance at the shipping company, allowing herself to be photographed entering the building. She met with undercover CIA agents posing as financial investigators, all while ensuring her presence was documented and observable. The second day she felt it, the prickle of being watched. Someone was conducting surveillance, though she couldn't identify them. She reported it to Donovan. We see them, 3-person team rotating positions, Syrian nationals with known terrorist connections, Hassan's advanced scouts. So he's here. Or close, stay alert, Ghost, this is when it gets dangerous. That night, Sarah sat in her hotel room with the lights on, deliberately backlit against the windows, a tempting sniper target for anyone watching. But she wore body armor under her clothes and stayed out of direct sightlines, creating the illusion of vulnerability while remaining protected. At 2:47 hours, her radio crackled. All elements, we have movement. 4 vehicles approaching hotel from different directions. This is it. Sarah's heart rate elevated, but her hands remained steady. Python 6, Ghost is ready. Negative, Ghost, stay in your room, we've got this. But then explosions rocked the building. Hassan's team had detonated charges in the lobby and stairwells, cutting off Alpha Squad's access. Gunfire erupted throughout the hotel as Hassan's fighters began clearing floors, moving toward Sarah's room. Ghost Python 6 were blocked. Evac through the window. Sarah rushed to the window, seeing rappelling ropes dropped from the roof. Hassan's team was coming from above and below, A coordinated assault. She was trapped. No, she was exactly where she needed to be. Sarah grabbed her rifle case, assembling the weapon with practiced speed. Python 6, negative on evac. I'm going hunting. Ghost, that's suicide. There are at least 20 hostiles in that building. Then they should have brought more. She slipped out of her room, moving through the chaos with her rifle ready. The hotel had become a battlefield, civilians screaming, Hassan's fighters clearing rooms, and somewhere in this mess, the man himself. Sarah moved like a ghost through the corridors, using the panic and confusion as cover. She found stairs and climbed to the 15th floor, seeking high ground. From there, she began her work. A fighter kicked in a door below her. She dropped him with a headshot through the stairwell railing. Two more clearing the 14th floor never heard the shots that killed them. She was a wraith, appearing and vanishing, each shot precisely placed. Jesus Christ, Reaper's voice came over comms. Ghost is dropping them like it's a training exercise. But Sarah knew the truth. Hassan wouldn't send his men without coming himself. He wanted to witness her death personally. She just had to find him. On the 18th floor, she found what she was looking for. A suite converted into a command post, Hassan's fighters speaking into radios, coordinating the assault. And there, standing at the window, was Khalid Hassan himself. He looked thinner, older, the wounds she'd inflicted clearly still affecting him. But his eyes burned with that familiar hatred as he directed his men via radio. Sarah could have shot him then, an easy 40-meter shot. But she wanted him to know, wanted him to see that his obsession had been his downfall. She stepped into the doorway, rifle at the ready. Hassan. He spun, and for a moment pure shock crossed his face. Then rage. You, how? You got sloppy. Obsession makes you predictable. She kept her rifle trained on him while his guards reached for weapons. Tell them to stand down or you all die. You're surrounded, Hassan snarled. My men will kill you. Maybe, but you'll be dead first. Is that how you want this to end? A tense standoff. 4 of Hassan's fighters with weapons half drawn, Sarah's rifle never wavering from Hassan's chest. Then Alpha Squad burst through the opposite door, having finally breached the explosives barriers. The firefight was brief and brutal. Sarah dropped 1 fighter, Donovan another, Reaper and Chaos the remaining 2. Hassan dove for cover, reaching for a pistol, but Sarah was faster. Her round struck him in the shoulder, deliberately non-fatal. He screamed, crumpling. Python 6 Ghost, package secured. Hassan is down alive. This time there would be no escape, no transport ambush. Hassan was zip-cuffed, sedated, and extracted via helicopter directly from the hotel roof to a waiting aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean. Multiple redundant security measures ensured he'd never slip away again. As the sun rose over Istanbul, Sarah stood on the hotel roof, looking out at the city. Donovan approached, his gear splattered with cordite and blood. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, Ghost. You used yourself as bait, then hunted them inside their own ambush. I had a good team backing me up. No, you had a great team backing you up. There's a difference. He paused. Hassan's talking, by the way, giving up his entire network to avoid a black site. Your shot broke more than his body, it broke his will. Sarah felt a weight lift she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. So it's really over. This chapter is, but Ghost, there's always another mission, another threat. The question is, what do you want to do next? Sarah considered the question. Weeks ago, she would have said she just wanted to do her job, avoid the spotlight, and be a SEAL. But she'd become something more, a symbol, a legend, and whether she wanted it or not, a leader. I want to train the next generation, she said finally. Show them it's possible, not just women, anyone who's been told they don't belong. I want to prove excellence is universal. Donovan smiled. I think that's perfect. The teams need instructors who have been tested in the fire, and Ghost, you were forged in it. 6 months later, Naval Special Warfare Center, Coronado. The sun hadn't yet risen over the Pacific as Sarah stood on the same beach where her own Bud-S journey had begun 3 years earlier. Before her, a new class of candidates shivered in the surf zone, subjected to the same torturous conditioning that had nearly broken her. But this class was different. Among the 180 candidates were 23 women, a record number, inspired by headlines and hashtags, by the impossible made possible. Instructor Martinez, the lead instructor, called, "Take them through surf torture." Sarah stepped forward, her instructor's whistle gleaming in the pre-dawn light. "Class 347, listen up. For the next 30 minutes, you're going to become intimate with the Pacific Ocean. You'll think you can't take another second. You'll think about quitting. And some of you will." She paused, making eye contact with several candidates, men and women alike. "But for those who stay, who push through when every fiber screams to stop, you'll discover something profound. You're stronger than you ever imagined. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. Now get in the surf." The candidates rushed into the waves, linking arms as cold water crashed over them. Sarah watched with her fellow instructors, nodding, who struggled, who helped others, who showed the mental fortitude necessary for special operations. "You've got a good eye for this," Senior Chief Instructor Davies commented. "Spotted 3 future doors in the first 5 minutes." Door, drop on request, the formal term for quitting. Sarah had learned to see the subtle signs. The candidate who isolated himself rather than bonding with his boat crew, the one who checked his watch constantly, the one whose eyes had already given up even as his body continued. "That one's solid, though." Sarah pointed to a smaller female candidate who'd positioned herself in the middle of the line, using her boat crew's collective strength while contributing her own. "Tours, she'll make it." After the evolution, Sarah stood before the class during debrief. Some shivered uncontrollably despite the warming sun. All looked exhausted, and they hadn't even reached Hell Week. "Today, some of you proved you belong here. Others proved you don't, not yet. This isn't about being male or female, big or small, experienced or green. It's about heart, about refusing to quit when quitting would be easy." One of the male candidates raised his hand. "Instructor Martinez, is it true you were the first female SEAL in combat?" "The question is irrelevant to your training, but yes. What matters is that I was a SEAL in combat. The first female part is a footnote. Don't come here to be the first anything, come here to be the best at your job. Gender is just biology. Excellence is a choice." After dismissing the class, Sarah walked to the Bud-S Memorial, a bronze statue honoring SEALs who'd paid the ultimate price. She did this every morning, a ritual to remember why the training was so brutal. These candidates weren't preparing for a job, they were preparing to potentially die for their country. Her phone buzzed, a text from Doc Williams, "Miss you at Team 7. Come visit soon. We've got a new guy who thinks he's a better shot than you. Needs humbling." Sarah smiled. She missed the team, missed the camaraderie and the missions, but this work felt equally important. Every candidate who made it through her instruction was a future warrior who'd keep Americans safe. That legacy mattered. "Lieutenant Martinez." She turned to find candidate Tours standing at attention, soaking wet and shivering. "At ease, Tours, what can I do for you?" "Ma'am, I just wanted to thank you. If you hadn't done what you did, I probably wouldn't have had the courage to try. I know I'm not supposed to mention it during training, but it matters to me that you know." Sarah studied the young woman, 22, former college athlete, determination etched in every line of her face. She saw herself 3 years earlier, terrified but unwilling to back down. "Tours, listen carefully. What I did doesn't make your journey easier. You'll face the same evolutions, the same instructors, the same Hell Week as every candidate before you. Some people will doubt you because of your gender. Some will actively want you to fail. How you respond to that defines who you become." "How did you respond, ma'am?" I stopped trying to prove people wrong and started proving myself right. I focused on being excellent at my job, not on being the female anything. Excellence is gender neutral, and it's the only argument that silences critics. Tors nodded, absorbing this. Thank you, ma'am, I won't let you down. Don't worry about letting me down. Worry about letting yourself down. Now get to medical, you're hypothermic. That evening, Sarah drove to San Diego for dinner with her father and Rachel Tors, who'd become a close friend and mentor. They met at the same Mexican restaurant where Sarah had received news of Hassan's escape. To Ghost, her father toasted. Navy Cross recipient, record-setting sniper, and now shaping the next generation of warriors. To not screwing up the next generation, Sarah countered, clinking glasses. You won't, Rachel assured her. I've seen your instruction reports. The candidates respect you because you demand excellence, not because you're famous. That's the right approach. Speaking of famous, James pulled out his phone. Have you seen this? He showed Sarah a news article. Military recruitment surges among women following Ghost, Martinez publicity. The story detailed how female enlistment in combat roles had increased 67% since Sarah's story became public. 67%, Sarah read aloud. That's substantial. You've changed the conversation, Rachel said. It's not about whether women can serve in combat anymore. It's about which specialties and how to optimize training. You've shifted the entire paradigm. I just did my job. Exactly, and that's what made the difference. You didn't give speeches or write op-eds. You performed at the highest level under the worst conditions. You let excellence speak for itself. Sarah's phone rang. Donovan. Excuse me, I need to take this. She stepped outside into the cool evening air. Senior Chief, what's up? Ghost, I need a favor. We've got a situation developing. Won't say more over the phone. Can you come by the team tomorrow? I'm an instructor now, Senior Chief. I can't just. I already cleared it with your command. This is important, Ghost, trust me. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the SEAL Team 7 compound. The team room had changed. New faces, new photos on the wall, but the same warrior spirit. Alpha Squad assembled, but it wasn't just Alpha anymore. Other team members filled the room, and in the corner she saw them. 3 female SEAL candidates who'd recently completed Bud S, their tritons gleaming. Donovan stood at the front. Ghost, these are petty officers Jenkins, Park, and Okonkwo. They graduated Bud S last month, top of their class. They've been assigned to various teams, and frankly, they're facing some of the same challenges you did. Sarah looked at the 3 women, young, nervous, trying to project confidence. She recognized that expression. They need a mentor, Donovan continued. Someone who's been where they are, who can guide them through the integration process. Someone who can teach them how to earn respect while staying true to themselves. Senior Chief, I'm not a... You're exactly what they need, what we need. He paused. The teams are changing, Ghost. More women are coming, more diversity. We can resist it and fracture, or we can adapt and become stronger. You showed us how to do the latter. Help these operators do the same. Sarah looked at the 3 women, seeing hope and fear in their eyes. She remembered her first days with Alpha Squad, the isolation and doubt. If she could spare them even a fraction of that struggle, wasn't that worth it? All right, but we do this my way. No special treatment, no separate standards. They're SEALs, same as everyone else. Wouldn't have it any other way. Over the following weeks, Sarah mentored the new operators while maintaining her instructor duties. She taught them the unwritten rules of SEAL culture, how to navigate the male-dominated environment without compromising themselves, and most importantly, how to be so undeniably good at their jobs that gender became irrelevant. You'll face tests the male operators don't, she told them during a training session. Someone will forget to include you in the briefing. Someone will question your decisions more harshly. Someone will make an inappropriate comment. How you respond defines your trajectory. What did you do? Jenkins asked. I outworked everyone. I showed up earlier, stayed later, and studied harder. I made myself indispensable through competence. And when someone crossed a line, I addressed it directly and professionally. No drama, no complaints to command, just clear boundaries and consequences. Did anyone ever really cross a line? Okonkwo asked. Sarah thought back to her early days, to comments that had stung, to deliberate exclusions. Yes, but I had allies too, Doc, eventually Donovan, others who valued excellence over gender. Find those allies, build those relationships, and always be so good they can't ignore you. The mentorship became a formal program, with Sarah splitting time between Bud's instruction and team integration support. She wrote a manual on best practices for mixed-gender special operations teams, drawing from her experiences and those of other female operators in different specialties. Months passed. Class 347 entered Hell Week, and Sarah watched with pride as candidate tours not only survived but excelled, leading her boat crew through the nightmare with determination and tactical intelligence. She'd make a fine SEAL. Then came the letter. It arrived via official Navy channels, sealed and marked personal and confidential. Sarah opened it in her office, reading with growing astonishment. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, you are hereby invited to speak at the United States Naval Academy graduation ceremony. The superintendent requests you deliver the commencement address to the graduating class of midshipmen. They want me to speak at the Naval Academy. Sarah showed the letter to Davies. Makes sense. You embody the warrior ethos they're trying to instill. Plus, there are more female midshipmen than ever, and they need role models. Sarah accepted the invitation, then spent weeks agonizing over what to say. What wisdom could she offer to hundreds of soon-to-be officers about to begin their own journeys? The graduation ceremony took place on a perfect May morning in Annapolis. Sarah stood in her dress whites, Navy Cross visible on her chest, looking out at the sea of midshipmen in their dress uniforms. She thought about the girl she'd been at their age, uncertain but determined, and the warrior she'd become. She stepped to the podium. Midshipmen, families, distinguished guests, I'm honored to be here today. When I was asked to speak, my first reaction was to decline. I'm a sniper, not a speaker. I'm more comfortable behind a rifle scope than a microphone. Polite laughter rippled through the audience. But then I realized that's exactly why I should speak. Because the Navy needs doers, not just talkers. It needs warriors who lead by example, who prove what's possible through action rather than rhetoric. She paused, gathering her thoughts. 3 years ago, I was the first woman to graduate Bud-S and become a Navy SEAL. People called it historic. They said I was breaking barriers and shattering glass ceilings. And maybe I was, but that's not why I did it. I did it because I wanted to serve at the highest level, to test myself against the toughest standard our military offers. The fact that I was female was incidental to that goal. Excellence doesn't have a gender. Courage doesn't have a gender. Dedication, sacrifice, honor. None of these things care whether you're male or female. In combat, I learned that bullets don't discriminate. Neither does the enemy. What matters is whether you can perform your mission, protect your teammates, and accomplish the objective. I proved I could, not because I'm a woman, but because I'm a warrior who refused to accept limitations others tried to impose. As you leave this academy and begin your service, you'll face doubt. People will question whether you belong, whether you're good enough, whether you have what it takes. Some of that doubt will come from others. Much of it will come from yourself. Here's what I want you to remember. Excellence is the only answer that silences doubt. Not excuses, not politics, not special considerations. Just undeniable, relentless excellence at your job. When I joined my SEAL team, my teammates didn't trust me. I hadn't earned it, so I worked harder than anyone else. I shot more rounds, ran more miles, studied more tactics. I made myself so competent they couldn't afford to exclude me. That's how you earn respect in the military, through demonstrated excellence. But excellence isn't just about individual achievement. It's about lifting up those around you, making your team better, and creating a culture where everyone can succeed. The best leaders I've served under weren't the ones who demanded respect. They were the ones who earned it by making everyone around them better warriors. You're entering a military that's changing. It's more diverse, more technologically advanced, more complex than ever before. Some will resist these changes. Others will embrace them. I challenge you to be the latter, to see diversity as strength, change as opportunity, and challenge as growth. In Syria, when I made the shot that people still talk about, I wasn't thinking about gender or history. I was thinking about my teammates who were pinned down and dying. I was thinking about the mission, the training, the thousands of hours that prepared me for that moment. That's what you need to focus on, not the accolades or the attention, but the mission and the people depending on you. Some of you will face discrimination. Some will encounter people who don't think you belong. Here's my advice. Don't fight them with arguments or complaints. Fight them with excellence so profound they have no choice but to acknowledge it. Be so good at your job that your performance speaks louder than any words. But also know when to stand up for yourself and others. There's a difference between earning your place and tolerating abuse. Learn that difference. Build allies who value merit over bias. And most importantly, support those who come after you. Make their path slightly easier than yours was. The warrior's path isn't easy. It demands sacrifice, courage, and a willingness to put others before yourself. You'll miss birthdays and anniversaries. You'll carry burdens no civilian will understand. You'll face decisions where every option is hard and the stakes are life and death. But you'll also experience pride that civilians will never know. You'll forge bonds stronger than blood with your teammates. You'll know, with absolute certainty, that your service matters, that you're protecting people who can't protect themselves, standing watch so others can sleep safely. That's the bargain we make when we wear this uniform. We sacrifice comfort, security, and sometimes life itself in service to something greater than ourselves. And that service, that sacrifice, is the highest calling I can imagine. Sarah's voice grew stronger, more passionate. Midshipmen, you're about to join a long line of warriors who have defended this nation since its founding. You're going to write the next chapter in the Navy's storied history. Make it a chapter defined by excellence, courage, and an unwavering commitment to the mission. Don't be the first anything, be the best at everything. Don't seek attention, seek excellence. Don't demand respect, earn it through performance that cannot be denied. And when you face that moment, and you will face it, when everything depends on you, when lives hang in the balance, when the mission seems impossible, remember this. You are the United States Navy. You are the finest warriors this nation has ever produced, and you are capable of far more than you imagine. Trust your training, trust your team, trust yourself, and never ever quit. Sarah stepped back from the podium as the audience rose in a standing ovation that seemed to shake the very foundations of Bancroft Hall. Among the applauding crowd, she saw her father, tears streaming down his weathered face. She saw Rachel Torres, beaming with pride. She saw Donovan and Alpha Squad, who'd driven up from Virginia just to hear her speak. But most importantly, she saw the faces of the midshipmen, male and female alike, looking at her with hope and determination, ready to write their own stories of service and sacrifice. After the ceremony, Sarah was surrounded by midshipmen wanting photos and advice. One young woman pushed through the crowd, her eyes bright with determination. "Ma'am, I'm Katie Chen. I want to be a SEAL. Is there any advice you can give me?" Sarah looked at this eager young officer and saw herself years earlier, full of dreams and fear, hope and doubt. "The same advice I'd give any aspiring SEAL. Start training now. Physical fitness, mental toughness, swimming. Study small unit tactics. Read everything you can about special operations. And most importantly, develop a tolerance for suffering because Bud S will push you to limits you can't imagine. Will I face extra challenges because I'm female? Probably, but you'll also have advantages. You'll work harder because you have to, you'll be more prepared because you can't afford not to be, and you'll develop resilience that will serve you throughout your career. The challenges make you stronger if you let them. Were you ever afraid you couldn't do it? Sarah smiled. Every single day. Fear doesn't disqualify you, quitting does. Feel the fear, then do it anyway. As the sun set over the Chesapeake Bay, Sarah stood alone for a moment, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. From a girl with a rifle in the Arizona desert to a Navy SEAL with a record-setting combat deployment to an instructor shaping future warriors, it had been a remarkable path. Her phone buzzed, a message from Candidate Tours who just completed Hell Week. "We did it, ma'am. Boat crew intact, all moving to the next phase. Thank you for showing us it's possible." Sarah typed back, "You did it, not me. You earned it. Stay strong." She thought about all the young women watching her story, deciding whether they had the courage to pursue their own impossible dreams. She thought about the men who'd learned that excellence has no gender. She thought about the lives saved because she'd made the impossible shot when it mattered most. This was her legacy, not the medals or the headlines, but the ripples of change spreading outward from her actions. Every woman who now believed she could serve in combat, every team that was stronger for embracing diversity, every leader who learned to value performance over prejudice. Lieutenant Sarah "Ghost" Martinez walked toward the parking lot where her father waited, her Navy Cross catching the last rays of sunlight. Tomorrow she'd return to Coronado, to the brutal surf zone where dreams were forged or shattered. She'd continue training warriors, mentoring operators, and serving the nation she loved. The doubters had been silenced. The mission continued. And somewhere in America, a young girl was picking up a rifle for the first time, dreaming of the impossible, ready to prove them all wrong. Just as Sarah had. Epilogue. 10 years later, the SEAL Memorial at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado hosted a special ceremony. A bronze statue was unveiled, depicting a SEAL sniper in a prone position, rifle trained on a distant target. The plaque beneath read, "Lieutenant Commander Sarah "Ghost" Martinez, USN Ret. Navy Cross Bronze Star with Valor, first female Navy SEAL in combat, record-setting sniper, instructor, mentor, warrior. She proved excellence knows no gender and inspired a generation to reach beyond their limits. Her legacy, not that she was the first but that she refused to be the last." Sarah stood in the crowd, wearing civilian clothes, her warrior days behind her but never forgotten. Her daughter, 7-year-old Alina, held her hand. "Mommy, is that you?" Alina asked, pointing at the statue. "A long time ago, sweetheart, a different me." "Were you scared?" Sarah knelt down, looking into her daughter's eyes, eyes that held all the possibility of the next generation. "Terrified. But I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because something matters more than being safe." What mattered more? The mission, my teammates, proving that anyone brave enough to try deserves the chance to succeed. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah noticed 3 young female SEAL operators in the crowd, their tridents gleaming in the California sun. They weren't the first, or the second, or even the 10th. They were simply warriors accepted and valued for their skills, their courage, their dedication. That more than any medal or statue was the legacy that mattered. Sarah "Ghost" Martinez had made the impossible shot, but her greatest achievement was making the impossible possible for everyone who followed. The mission was complete. The end.
La classe non sta classando, la classe non è glassa. Oddio, ma siete andati avanti? Poi tocca fare il prequel, ovvero classe Origins. Oggi sono rimbambito, sarà la mancanza di sonno. Non hai classe oggi, Ozino. Il mio indie preferito è stupendo, troppo bello. Addirittura, alberghiero sì, però ho cambiato prima facile